Hey guys, welcome back to another video of our 4C's in our digital toolbox. Today we're going to be talking about creativity, and this is a little bit of a stretch for creativity, but the product that we're going to be talking about today, which is Google Sites, if you recognize the logo, is a way that students can creatively express all of the information that they want to share with either future employers, colleges they're applying to, or other professional settings. This type of project that we're going to be looking at today could also be flipped and used in the classroom for different academic projects, but today we're just going to focus on building digital portfolios within Google Sites. Again, we're talking about creativity today, so the words that we're looking at are innovation, brainstorming, imagination, experimentation, and visionary. So the creativity aspect could really be hard for a lot of students if they don't feel like they have a lot of creativity, but kind of where we're wanting them to go with their thoughts today is how they best showcase themselves. That can be in a creative aspect, but do they are they able to produce video and photo projects to be able to showcase their work? Are they able to organize pieces of evidence that showcase their skills in a very professional and presentable way? So what are some things that we could include in a portfolio? We could showcase their skills or work samples of things that they've done. These projects have been geared towards career tech teachers this whole time. So those are the examples that I've kind of been pulling from because I've been presenting this live to them. But for any student, if they have done certain welding skills, they could include photos of that. Or if they have done an excellent essay in an AP class and they want to link an attachment of it, those would be great things to include. This is really the transformed elevator speech aspect. This is how they're going to sell themselves to a future employer. This is how they're going to present themselves to college application boards, or this is how they're going to put themselves out there for the public to be able to see what they can do. They could include certifications or education, their GPA. They could include certain credentials if they've been in career tech, if they've taken certain exams and gotten credentialed, that could be included. Any work experience. At this age, even babysitting is relevant work experience because they at least put themselves out there. They've been responsible. They have been able to receive payment. They've been able to manage money. So anything that they've done to be working, I think applies in this situation. Large projects they may have been a part of, group projects, school projects, and then lastly, community service. If they've been involved in organizations like SGA, National Honor Society, things like that. If they've done volunteer hours, volunteer projects, those are all things that could be included. So I linked an example right here. This is just a personal example of mine. Whenever I applied to grad school 10 years ago, they did not want a bunch of attachments. They only said you could submit one link for your application and it had to include all those things. So I'm just going to click on that real quick. So this is just a digital portfolio. It has got a little bit of a blurb about me. It has my resume attached and then all of the papers that they wanted me to submit to go along with my application are all linked in here. So one thing I do want to draw your attention to before we get into the technical details is that if you are putting in things like this, you need to make sure that the permissions are enabled as well, that if you are sending this out to the public, that they're able to see your products that you're putting in from your Google Drive. This is also just featured work. You could put in slideshows, you could include videos. So again, there's really a lot of customization that you could do. It could be very plain Jane, but it also could be a really beautiful piece of work to showcase what they've done. So what are the advantages of this before we kind of get into it? Again, the way that they can present themselves is more than just a piece of paper and more than just a resume. Digital and audio and video could bring this person's true personality and what they have to offer to life. If this was something that was started early in high school, students could begin to grow and build, and it could really show how they've grown as a student and as a future professional. It is very easy to send and share with others. It's accessible. It can be looked at on a phone, on an iPad, on a computer. The website can have accessibility. It has accessibility features built in. And then finally, this allows students to again, build their own brand to really represent what they stand for and what kind of professional they want to be. So a few final tips before we get started. Whenever we are thinking about building this site, we want to make sure that this humanizes the student, that it is not very sterile, it's not too harsh, but it really brings them to life. A contact form is a really great thing to include if you don't just want to put just your email address or phone number out there. We also want to make sure that they're using personal email addresses, not their school ones, because if they are a senior getting ready to graduate, they're going to lose access to that in June. Testimonials could be really powerful on something like this. Some comments or a recommendation from a teacher, a client they've worked with, even fellow classmates could really reinforce that credibility. And then we really want clean navigation. Whenever I showed you guys earlier, there was just a navigation menu on the side and you could click through exactly what you want. We don't want our user to have to do more than 3 clicks to find what they're looking for. They'll get distracted or bored and then they'll leave. Okay, so I have a template set up. These are just a couple of examples. I'm going to go through a couple of the features of this, and then I'm going to jump over and just show you how to start a Google site from scratch. I also have another YouTube video that's very detailed on how to build a Google site. I will try to include that with this link as well. So on this Google site, I'm going to just jump over there really quickly so that you can actually see it. I have just a template built in because we use this to start whenever we were doing our projects with career tech teachers. So the very first thing that we want to make sure that we display is a name. Maybe if you are a teacher also, I can add this too. If you are interested in building a site to showcase what you're teaching, we encouraged teachers who maybe have different programs or clubs or things like that students apply to, that maybe you want to showcase some things that you've done through there. So, you can put your school, you can put what you teach, but we want our name. And I would highly encourage people to also include a photo so that they know who they're looking at too. A very professional photo, not one that's taken very casually or you had to crop people out or things like that. But, let's try to use a yearbook photo or something that's done that is just of, potentially a headshot, shoulders up, things like that. We could also include, this is that little about me section. This could be just a small paragraph with things about yourself. I would, again, keep it relevant, keep it professional. You may absolutely love horseback riding, but this might not be the best place to include that. This is going to be that little elevator speech aspect. And then you also could include in this location, or if you didn't want to do an about me, this is where you could do a couple of those testimonials, those recommendations from teachers, and it could even be a letter that is embedded into this site. Work samples. So Google Sites, since it is a Google product, is going to work beautifully with all of the things that we already use. I have some content blocks built right here that are easy just to bring some things in so I can show you these things. So you could easily, this is a icon for Google Slide, and if you don't have these already, if you decide to build one from scratch, you can scroll down through this menu over here on the right side and you can see YouTube, Docs, Slides, Sheets, Forms, all of those things on there. So I'm just going to click on this so you kind of see what it looks like. So this is going to bring up Google Slides. So I can link in this slideshow right here. And so on the inside too, the user's going to be able to click through this slideshow without ever leaving this page, which is great. Again, I want to make sure that you realize too, if you don't have permission or don't give permission to view this slide or document, then if it goes out to the public and someone from a company looks at it, they're not going to be able to see it. You could include photos. So you can select images from your Google Drive. Just put in the first day of school picture. Maybe. Try that again. Just put in the logo. That will work. And you can kind of crop it and play around with it a little bit too. You can also make sure that you can include that alt text to make it accessible. And then if you decide you don't like that picture, you can just upload one fresh from your computer or select another one from your Google Drive. And then you also could include a YouTube video. So this is pretty interesting. If you wanted to be able to truly showcase skills that need to be kind of watched, that pictures don't really capture that, then you could create a YouTube video. And I know we're going to get into the YouTube is blocked at our schools, but again, this is for something that we're looking for the future. So that would be something that they would have to invest some of their own time in at home to do, but it would be a really great way to showcase their skills, I think. So it was super simple to embed all of those things. I am just going to put another little piece right here and show if I wanted to also include a Google Doc. I just click on it and then it rolls right on here too. You can also drag a couple of these things around. By the way, tip of the day, Control Z or Command Z is your friend when you're working on these things. So, super simple. And then last but not least, we have our contact area. I have used a contact form over the years. This is just kind of a way to keep from getting so many spam messages, really. Sometimes bots will scan and they will easily pick up when there's an email just explicitly listed on the website. So sometimes a contact form can kind of help filter those things out a little bit. I would always encourage people to include a phone number too. They want to be able to reach you in some way. So just something that you may have thought to in your brain as a slight concern. Well, how do we know that their information is protected? So with Google Sites, technically, we don't want any student who is under 18 to publish this site. So let me kind of show you what that means. I'm going to jump just a little bit ahead to the last step. You see a publish button over here in the top right corner. It is purple, which means that this is the button. Well, it's going to stay purple, sorry. This is where we publish the site over and over again after we make changes. If it was not published, this link button right here would be grayed out and you wouldn't be able to see it. So this would be your indicator that this has not been published. But I'm also going to click on this little person right here. So here is where we can see who can see our stuff. So this is people with access. So this is going to be the groups that have access to this. The draft mode is the mode I'm in right now. So this is where the editing takes place. You can send just the draft to people too if you would like. If you wanted this to be a group project or work on this with another teacher, school, things like that, you could share it that way. And then the publish site. So if a student is not over 18, we do not want it to be absolutely public, okay? That means that anybody can find it. We want them to keep it within the Chilton County Board of Education because right now, theoretically, you're doing this as an assignment for them, but they are going to also have a product they could then use in the future. So once the assignment's over, once we graduate, then what they'll simply do is they'll share it to a personal email address. They'll transfer ownership of it to that personal email address, and then they still have it from there. So that would be what I recommend doing for those steps moving forward. But they can absolutely publish it to Chilton County Board of Education. If you don't want to worry about the publishing, if you want them just to send you a draft or to add you on the draft, you would be able to see it as well. So those are just a couple of things. Oh, two more things before I move on to a blank one. Navigation, I just want to talk about that for a second. All of the things that I did today are on one page. Some of these students might have a ton of things that they want to showcase. So they could add multiple pages. They could do a page on, certain classes that they've completed and things that they've done and evidence of things in that class. So that would be one idea that they could do. And then if they happen to want to change the navigation to be from the top to the side, super simple. They'll just go to settings and navigation is the first thing that comes up. They'll choose side and now it moves over here to that little fly out sidebar. So if we say we want to start a brand new Google site, I'm just going to come up into a new tab, come to my waffle and click on Google Sites. It pulls up a page that's really similar to what you've seen before on slides and docs and sheets. And they do also already have some templates available as well. So if you wanted to kind of start with a template and you liked the way something looked, that would be totally fine. Some look a lot more sophisticated than others. So we kind of stuck with a really basic one for this one that was easy to fill in. Another thing that some teachers have brought up is that I kind of made this template right here, which is totally fine. I would think if you're doing this with juniors and seniors, that they would be capable of following along with you if you did this, walked through this with them. Like, these are the things I want you to put in here. Now you have some creativity and you kind of know how to work this, so you go do this on your own. If you wanted to make a template of that, that is totally fine. What you will have to end up doing though is giving editing permissions for them to edit. And then they will have to come to these three dots and make a copy of this site and then work on their own copy. It does not go through Google Classroom like Docs and things like that do, because it's just a little bit different of a product. So you're working with the website. If you want to kind of see what the finished one looks like, that is, preview is a great option for that. So you can preview your site, you can scroll, see what it's going to look like. You can even use these buttons right here on the bottom and you can see what it's going to look like on a phone, because these days a lot of people are looking at this kind of stuff on their phone. So that's a good idea to always check too. Again, our goal is always to help you work smarter, not harder. I hope that this would be something that you would find useful in your classes. I think it would be a great thing for students, especially those that are entering our workforce, to have in their back pocket as kind of a digital resume version. If you ever need any assistance with this product or setting this up, or you just need another set of adult eyes and ears and hands in your classroom, my email is there, as well as Mr. Robert Dolbear's. He helped create this presentation as well, so if you will reach out to either of us, we'll be happy to assist you.